In Poland, a Law and Justice Party is expected to win even more votes than in 2015, according to the preliminary polls, those done prior to the election day, which is taking place today. In Warsaw, my colleague Sashko Shevchenko is covering the parliamentary elections in our neighboring country. So, good evening.
Good evening, Natalia. Nice to hear you.
So, you were working for a couple of days there. Let us know what are the results expected. I know the people should be voting, but it looks like there is no major surprise that the race is not too close.
Yes, exactly. So there shouldn't be any surprise, even given that the Law and Justice Party, which is the ruling party right now, might have even more votes. It's still below 50%, but according to a very specific system of counting of votes in Poland, that will be more than enough to form an absolute majority in the parliament and therefore form a government by itself with no other parties included involved. So the PiS is very likely to go on governing the country by itself. And this is what the preliminary polls suggest, and we still will the exit polls will be released at 9 p.m. According to a local time. But as for the turnout, it is on the level which is very traditional, so not quite above 50% of the turnout. So no surprise expected, at least as of the moment.
So what were the main topics and the issues for these elections? We understood that a lot of people supported the Law and Justice, or PiS in Polish, party for quite huge subsidies and support for the poor. Some critics say that they are bad for the Polish economy. We also know that this party is openly, ideologically conservative. So what were the main issues for people the parties were advocating?
Yes, so the electorate, the majority of voters that vote for PiS are actually located in the distant regions, not big cities. These are the people who are mostly interested in the farming, and they have big families, and those are the families that actually benefit from the subsidies, which include the 13th pension for the retired people. They include the zero tax for the younger generation, so if you are younger than 26, you don't pay the full tax, and of course the program Family 500 Plus, in which the government gives 500 zloty each month for every child. So these are the subsidies that PiS is giving out for the allowances that people can benefit from, and therefore this might be the explanation why PiS keeps being very popular. Even though the initiatives that the PiS is pursuing are not just conservative, they not only touch on the church that is very connected to the governing party, and they also have to take that into account, and not also their stances on the women's rights, the abortion laws, which are already one of the most strictest in Europe, but also the distorting the democracy and the judiciary reform that has been criticized in the EU and also by the opposition, that actually threatens the independence of courts, the Supreme Court and the Constitutional Tribunal, and also the general courts all over the country. And the analysts say that the second term, if PiS wins, they'll probably use to close the system enough so they will not need to care that much about their popularity anymore. Because as you've mentioned, the economic, which has been growing during the term of PiS, might start decreasing soon, and there soon might be a crisis because of not quite working economy policies that PiS used to apply within this time.
How the analysts there explain why the pro-EU civic coalition and the Polish opposition is generally doing that bad? Because you listen for a couple of years, so many violations, threats to the Polish democracy, quite a lot of discussion about that, and in the end it looks like the opposition hadn't gained much. So how it's explained, if to be concise?
Well, one of the reasons, one of the possible explanation, it might be the lack of a charismatic leadership. Because, for instance, the most popular opposition party, the Civic Coalition, was once founded by the current president of the European Council, Donald Tusk, who used to be very popular in Poland, but now he is more involved in European politics. On the other hand, the current leader, Grzegorz Schetina, is not that popular, and therefore, even in the election campaign, he promised to step down, not to even be one of the candidates for the position of prime minister, because he realizes his toxicity, that he's not the most popular politician. That's actually the same thing that Yaroslav Kaczynski did within PiS. When PiS was elected, one of the promises was that Kaczynski will not be the prime minister, and that is not the case now. So the prime minister is a different person, Mateusz Morawiecki. And this is why might be one of the problems with the civil coalition. The other problem is that the opposition parties, there is a scenario where they could unite together and try to run in these elections together, as they actually did in the European elections for the European Parliament this May. But analysts say that that might not work. They're too different ideologically. They have different electorate, different people who vote for them, and there might be also a problem. And again, coming again to the electoral system, the biggest party benefit more from the votes that were for the parties that didn't pass the threshold. So, for instance, all the results from the opposition parties altogether might be still less than the PiS itself.